fuck, I forgot to unmute my microphone. Hi, everybody. Many of you did, in fact, slay the spire this seed of the week. If you were one of them, congratulations. But yeah, hope everyone is doing well. Sorry the recap started a little late. For those of you who are in my Discord, you probably know already, but the cat fell asleep on my lap and I could not move her. That's just illegal. So, you know, we're here now. It's going pretty well, Saf. Hope things are well with you as well. And big hellos to everyone who's here right at the start of stream. Emily, Metal Philosopher, The Light, Bookshelf, and anyone else who may or may not be lurking. Yeah, this for Wet and I was our first Seed of the Week abandon run moment. Hopefully the last, at least the last for a while, but the Not Dork team name remains accurate. For people who don't know the context on that, it's the origins of it are from people calling each other infinite dorks when you like try to, you know, monkey go for an infinite or something, which kind of expanded into just like any kind of stally or repetitive kinds of gameplay. And so the origins of it was we don't want to do that kind of stuff. And because like early Not Dork streams were a lot more like random nonsense fun times. Shout out to the 5 copies of Omniscience run especially, but like yeah, it was a lot of goofy stuff. And where we ended up in this run, we abandoned at the end of Act 2, where the deck was in like an okay spot but not ahead of curve enough that we could just get lazy with things and just doing the whole urn stall every fight. Like, the worst part of it is that it was necessary enough because the deck was slow enough that we could very easily get owned and just take a whole bunch of damage in the first couple turns out of nowhere. And so, as a shield against that, doing the whole urn stall thing was, like, actually important. It's just, I don't want to do that. Neither of us wanted to do that, so we didn't. Games are supposed to be fun. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, Saf, I hope the Audacity stuff went well. If you still have open questions about it or what have you, feel free to ping me on Discord. I am more than happy to jump in and support there. Meat on the bone. Not actually the highest performing relic for a ton of people on this one because, again, it's, where was that? Here. Yeah, when you have urn stall, like, Meat doesn't have the chance to do quite as much as usual. And like 156 bookshelf, congratulations on the best Meat. I believe that also gives you an award for not being especially cringe because, you know, you're playing like a normal person instead of stalling for full heal every fight. Congratulations. But yeah, where's on the other hand the urn? Linosaurus getting 461 healing out of that thing. Like, yeah. What's even the average, not even the max, the average was 213. 213 healing across the whole run. See, the worst part, Lilite, is you don't necessarily need creative AI for the stall. You can just do it with the dead branch if you're patient enough. And that's where Wet and I were for at least part of our run, is we had Hello World out, and Hello World makes like hologram minus and turbo and stuff, and those ethereal things turn into branch cards, which are sometimes powers. Oh, you didn't have branch either? Fair enough. Yeah. Slow and rather cringe run. Yeah, it was pretty gross. It was pretty gross. Therefore, the abandon. But yeah, a lot of winners this seed, and not everyone did the cringe. But yeah, just doing the skim, random bullshit go kinds of decks. Someone buying wing boots, Tousty. Yeah, there's the heal to full. Zool being team rare card, which I think there were only 2 people who submitted run history who picked the rare card, but can't deny it worked out. Yeah, stalling with urn and branch is suffering. Yep, we're just talking about that. Cruise control, swappers, yep. It is the Swapaganda seed, but, you know, notably doesn't actually look like as much Swapaganda as usual if you compare the 250 and the boss relic starts on this one. 250 gold, especially for max HP, it's hard to pass up. And even with no early shop in this act, it did perform. I guess the seed was kind enough to let you steamroll through the early parts of the act without a real Neo bonus. Shops were cringe. Fair. Yeah, creative AI earn on floor 10 and then autopilot. Yep. Earn healed for 318. So is this what you mean by cringe, or were your shops considerably different than this? First shop, Souvenir Defrag. Second shop, Apotheosis. That sounds like 250 gold propaganda instead of SWAPAGANDA in my books. But swap result was still quite good overall. 8 wins, 4 Act 2 deaths, 3 Act 1, or 1 Act 3 death. Oh yeah, the placement of the shops was rather cringe. Yeah. So, still a strong showing from boss swappers on this one, but 250 gold took the edge. Swapaganda had to come down from the top spot eventually. Oh, which boss relic? Sorry, I'm not parsing thing. Yes, it was Slaver's Collar. It was Slaver's Collar. So, not a super cringe swap like Crown, not a super OP swap like P-Box, or a mid or something. It's okay, I guess, as an energy relic. It made elite farming in early Act 1 and such a hell of a lot smoother, and so that can start to snowball. Yeah. And there was a shard in this seed, and a few people went for shard nonsense, Big Bean being the biggest nonsense. Shiv deck for the win. Got just casual accuracy, Blade Dance, Dark Embrace on the defect going. Shard things. Just shard things. Yeah, Pride One got a couple. Freshwater Cam got a bunch. Yeah. But yeah, Act 2 sucks. 3 cultists, awful. There were a bunch of people in the form submissions who didn't submit run history, who also died to 3 cultists, or if not died to, got really heavily damaged by and then couldn't recover from. I think that's actually a good example of not specifically cultists, but in general of, how strong are you in different types of fights. Defect, a lot of the time, and I think in this seed especially, can struggle sometimes with front load of your scaling comes online a little bit too slowly, and you can whittle down a lot of enemies behind, a relatively safe wall of frost. And especially when you can heal back up with Urn Stall, it kind of smooths over a lot of sins. But at a certain point, you're going to run into a brick wall of enemies that scale faster than you do, of that kind of slow and steady, safe, it takes a while to get online kinds of engines that work a lot of the time do stop working. And Triple Cultists is a great example of that. The Maw in Act 3, another good example of that kind of a gate. Giant Head to a maybe lesser extent. Yeah, Emily's saying, noting that I almost never die to Act 2 fights or elites anymore, but many died to Act 2 boss. In this case, it wasn't deck that was the issue, but brain. Yeah, and the brain thing, we all have those moments, right, where it's just brain turns off and you're like, why the fuck did I just click on that? I am not thinking about anything. I need to strap in and think about this more. And then literally the very next turn you click on something else stupid and it's just what am I doing? We've all been there. It's a mood. It's a little unfortunate, I think, when it happens in Seed of the Week runs specifically. At least I find it unfortunate because I'm man, I wanted to learn about where my blind spots were, when I lose, and to see what I should have done differently. But when I already know what I should have done differently, and it's just don't do the dumb thing that I realized was dumb immediately after I did it. What are you gonna do? Yeah, mood sounds like tired. A lot of us are tired in some sense or another, physically, mentally, just, also just hard game is hard and you kind of get whittled down after a while. Damn. Yeah, brains are bitches like that sometimes. Shakes fist at... I don't know. I don't know what I'm shaking a fist at, but you guys know what I mean. But yeah. Don't have decks that are too slow for things like this. Where's the freaking damage section? I remember Boot specifically wanted me to highlight the cultists row on here of hallway fight. Now, just a casual hallway fight. I'm actually going to drag these down here so you can just compare the numbers between this hallway fight and this elite fight. These are rather similar numbers. Some are 86 to cultists, 86 to gremlin leader. They're big numbers. They're big numbers. Please do not get owned. And it's something to keep an eye on, right? When you feel when your deck is too slow, even if you are already winning, right? Even if like it hasn't become a problem yet, even if it's still safe for now, you still have like enough frost that you can drag out fights for a lot of turns, you can heal back up. It's like, okay, it's fine. It will be a problem, right? The scaling will catch up with you sooner or later. And so looking for things that will help avoid that before you just freaking get completely owned by triple cultists. Just one of those extra things to keep an eye on in your run. It's easy when the problems are like directly in your face and hard to ignore when you're like actively bleeding out every single fight. But when you're not, yeah, lost more health to Cultist and Chosen. Yeah, I mean, that's also a rough combo, especially if you don't have any kind of artifact or what have you. 69, nice to Gremlin Leader. I mean, not nice, but you know. Yeah, don't die in Act 2 power for a reason. The reason is triple Cultists. Well, it's also 2 out of the 3 elites in Act 2 are AoE, right? Both Slavers and Gremlin Leader. Excuse me. Book of Stabbing is Book of Stabbing. What are you going to do? But, yeah. Nice. The cat butts. I like it. Oh, man. But yeah, Act 2 freaking sucks. Act 2 sucks. Exclamation mark, Act 2 sucks. And that was true for a lot of people, whether it's the cultist that got you, Gremlin Leader, Automaton at the end of it all. And this is also kind of death by 1,000 cuts type situation, right? I'm sure a bunch of people got a little bit owned by hallways going in, and that softened them up for Gremlin Leader to, deal the final blow after scaling too out of control or what have you. Does anybody actually say Act 3 is worse than Act 2? I don't really hear that sentiment. I hear Act 3 is more boring than Act 2. It's like a slog. There are some rough fights, but generally Act 2 I find is like a huge difficulty jump over Act 1, and Act 3, it's like if you're getting to Act 3 in the first place, the core of your deck is probably together enough to get through it in mostly one piece. Sometimes you still get owned by like Darklings or Repto or what have you. Yeah, Slaughters. Act 2 is unforgiving. And knowing the right balance between how much do I need to farm for value versus how much do I need to dodge to stay alive because everything here is trying to kill me. It's an art, not a science. For defects, certain silent decks, Act 3's I'm just going to attack for 30 on turn 1 trends can be annoying. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This again goes kind of, it's not the same thing as the Triple Cultist problem, but it's in general just the what is your deck's speed, right? Of can you come online fast enough to deal with late game threats? The heart hits damn hard on turn 2, not pulling any punches. Shield and Spear turn 2, awful, right? Of like, you need your draws to be both, solid enough front load to deal with that and consistent enough to deal with the chance of like really bad brick draw orders. And that's a demanding task that, demands a lot of late game attention. So I don't know what you're going to do, but yeah, in this one, yet again, it's sort of if you make it past the brutal wall of Act 2 being kind of garbage, you're probably making it to the end. Nobody really, or very few people got Defect Act Forward in this one, which I think is interesting. The run just sort of snowballed out of control, I think, by then for a lot of folks, but yeah. Let's take a look at boss relic picks in this one. Yeah, anti-SWAPAGANDA on here. Swappers definitely clearly lower win rate than non-swappers, but again, what are you going to do? Still above average, so we take those. Calling Bell, absolutely owning. I can't remember what came out of this Calling Bell for a lot of people, but if anyone here in chat had an especially strong bell on this seed, let me know. I would be curious to hear what you got out of it, because clearly it was pretty strong. I think Black Star on this one, at least from some of the conversations that I've had with people who took it, maybe led to a little bit of overconfidence of, the run being in a strong enough place, especially if you swapped into Slaver's Collar and you already have the elite farming package. Oh, I have extra energy, I can get extra relics, let's just, steamroll into this. And then Act 2 reminds you why that's not always a good idea, very forcefully. So yeah, it's a tricky justify. I think especially when it's up against typically stronger picks on offer. Dripper, P-Box, both owning. How unusual. Yeah, but Dripper is like amazingly free this seed between the creative AI, Birdface Stern type stuff. I think there were bites as well, maybe. I can't remember. Yeah, there was bites, but nobody took them because you just have earn. Oh, it was meat was the other healing. But yeah, there was lots of sustain to go around. Semicolon saying, never know how to evaluate Bell. Obviously, curse tolerance matters. I mentally group it with the other skip plus relics like Astrolabe. It seems like others are much higher. Yeah, I definitely rate it above like skip plus tier personally. Curse tolerance barely factors into it for me, frankly. Like, yes, it gives you the Calling Bell curse. That is an extra curse in your deck. Sure. Most decks can carry that in my mind. But it's like 3 relics worth of power. Like, think about when you're evaluating the rare relic fights in Act 3, right? Either Mind Bloom or Double Orb Walkers, right? Even when Double Orb Walkers is like a little bit scary, it's tempting because it's like, oh, but a rare relic though, like that can really turn this run around. If I grab a good one and, you know, there's a lot of good hits that, you know, might give like a hefty power boost. Bell gives you a rare relic immediately, guaranteed, alongside, you know, a common and an uncommon as well. And there are some damn good hits in there. It's front load value. It's you farmed an extra 3 elites last act and didn't take any damage from it, right? It's you know, the whole please farm philosophy is to snowball that kind of value early, and Bell does that for you in the form of a boss relic. Right? Black Star is bad not because relics are bad, but because it's delayed value. It's the same kind of problem as like Matryoshka of, you know, power now is better than power later. It's not extra, it's no boss relic. Well, I mean, it's the boss relic is you got these extra elites for free, right? Because having the extra power now as opposed to something like a Black Star, it's like Black Star means you have to fight and win against these other elite fights without a boss relic at all to help you, at least the first time. And the second time, it's, you know, sure you have 2 relics, but they might also be like 2 mediocre common relics, and, you know, the 2 is still less than 3, and so on and so forth. All right, thanks for the lurk, Saf. Enjoy the rest of your day. But yeah, it's front-loaded power. It's random power, obviously. There are some whiffs, the same kind of way that Astrolabe, you know, there are some whiffs. But I find that typically 3 random relics is a much more reliable power boost than 3 random upgraded transforms. Yeah, I need a bunch of power now. And frankly, I feel like that's a lot of runs, right? You just want a bunch of power now. It's, you know, especially again, going into Act 2, where Act 2 is brutal, and it's like, give me something to help me survive this monstrosity of a whatever the fuck is going on here. I'm just, yeah. Give me a helping hand, and then by the time you get through the end of it in one piece, you know, your deck is probably in much better shape. You have, you know, the core of it much more locked down. You have the extra relics from, you know, from the extra fights that you were able to take, and now because of all that, you know, combined value, you're in better shape for the late game. So it's not an either or. So necessarily, unless it's like up against, you know, a much more stronger scaling relic, of course. Yeah, not unlike an energy relic, better for decks that don't really have great stuff to spend energy on. Yeah, I think that's a very good assessment. Is I would only really pick Bell over an energy relic if the energy was like especially sus. Of like, you know, I'm not picking Busted Crown over a Bell unless I'm like, I will literally die in the immediate next act if I do not have an additional energy, and then it's sort of definitely die versus maybe die. I'll take the maybe. But yeah, some decks just genuinely don't have as many huge outlets for the energy. You have low cost cards, you don't have a crazy amount of draw. You know, you haven't, maybe you boss swapped into an energy relic and you're not feeling particularly, you know, tightened on that front yet. And you just want, you know, an extra power boost, and also like a power boost that helps you across the board, right? Hallways, boss fights, elites, whatever. Struggle taking Runic Dome because bad at the game. I think that applies to a lot of us. Also, I feel like Runic Dome is kind of a bell curve meme, honestly. Is if you're like new to the game, then it's like, I can't take this dome. I don't know this game nearly well enough. What the heck could they possibly be doing? This relic is trash. And then you get moderately good at the game, and you're like, actually, no, this is fine. Like, enemy intents, they have predictable RNG patterns. You can like double check things in bestiary. You can kind of play around it a lot of the time. It's like, it's not free, of course, but it's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good, right? You can like you got to be smart about it. And then you kind of get to the other end of the bell curve, and it's like, at that top end of the bell curve, and I don't pretend to be at the very top of it myself, but the mindset mostly being, if you are at a very high average win rate just across the board, anything that adds a significant extra risk to your runs is like, why are you taking risks that you don't necessarily have to take here? There are some decks where Runic Dome is like completely fine. Decks where, you genuinely don't care what the enemy is doing. You have basically the same game plan every turn anyway. Or maybe you have like a crap ton of intangible, or you're doing something with like barricade and trench spam. If you're going infinite and just killing everything on turn one, what are they doing? Dying. Like there are plenty of situations where Dome can be free, but if you're not in one of those specific boats and you're thinking like, can I work around it, I guess, then it's like, I mean, maybe. If you really need the energy and it's not up against anything better, then yeah, maybe. But yeah, it's rough even for people who are really, really good at the game. I don't think anyone would claim that it's like a top tier energy relic. Yeah, feels especially miserable. Yeah, especially when you have things that like you really want to time, right? Like if you're on silent, you have Pyramid Dome with something like a Piercing Whale. Not having Dome and being able to time those Piercing Whales exactly when you want to play them, huge value add. And having to like shot in the dark on that, it just feels really bad. Sometimes it feels worse than it is, granted. There's a balance there, but yeah. Tiny House sucks. Garbage. Yeah. What were notable cards on this one? Loop. Does this card block for 60 or for 6? Could be either. Yeah, lost the 50-50, but even more so. Loop performing well on this one. Recycle. Notable shout out. Interesting. Reboot, Skim up there. Barrage up there. I've been some people have been talking me into early Barrage more often lately, of like, my earlier philosophy on, an Act 1 Barrage is like, oh cool, maybe it does 4 damage. Great. Worse than a strike, why would I add this? But like once you have like any meaningful amount of Orb Gen, it is a damage card, is an attack card. It's not an exceptional one, but it can be a solid one. And it does genuinely scale pretty well into the late game a lot of the time, right? It scales off of extra orb slots. It scales off of strength sources, right? If you find like a Shuriken or a Vajra, anything of that sort. And it's just like, I don't know. It's an attack that helps enough in Act 1, but like stays relevant as the run goes on, rather than taking something like, a Rip and Tear, where it's, helps a lot in Act 1, just, wiping out hallway fights and stuff, but then by Act 3, it's like, why is this garbage in my deck? This isn't doing anything relevant here. Yeah. Ascender's Bane, so freaking good. 100% of winning decks had Ascender's Bane. You should definitely pick up this card, preferably 2 copies of it, if you can find them. It's just OP. Yeah. Yeah. Turbo, energy. Yeah. Heat sinks, the draw engine. Who won without cool-headed? Let's find out. Bookshelf did not have a cool-headed. It was only Bookshelf. All right. Congratulations, Bookshelf, on being the sole non-cool-headed winner this seed. Yeah, and that's fair, Emily. It's like, there are definitely better choices than it a lot of the time, but if you're up against a wall, anyone else take the floor 6 or whatever? Hello World. Let's take a look. Floor 5, and yep, a handful of people took it. 1 on floor 6. Not sure was offered. Let's look at the zoom in version. Please swap, says Opem. It is the Swapaganda seed. Unfortunately, the Swapaganda did not pan out as much as it usually did. It was a 250 gold propaganda seed instead, but yeah. Pretty damn even split on Gopher versus Melter, floor 1. I think either is respectable here. Gopher is definitely a very strong card in the longer run, but Melter is solid early damage, strong into the elites, strong into the boss, knob protection, you know. It's a damage card, and sometimes that's just what you want. Cool-Headed is a good card. Claw Pickers, Law Obeyers, both winning. Coincidence? I don't know. Most people paying gold early on, but floor 3 people giving a card a little bit more often. I don't know if that's just coincidence or they had like more kind cards that he was asking for or something later on. Yeah. Defrag is a good card. Who knew? Absolutely shocking. Turned down Hello World because I wanted Cold Snap and had the floor 0 Electro. Bathtube gave Melter, Open gave Gopher. I think both very fair. Why isn't this showing? I thought... Oh, no, it was 5 to 6 that people picked the Hello World. So yeah, some people picked it here. A lot of folks picking the Cold Snap. I know when Wet and I did our Abandon run, I didn't import our data because we didn't, finish the seed. But we took this Hello World over the Cold Snap, and I know a bunch of people in chat thought it was kind of weird at the time. Our deck was in not the best shape at that point. I think we kind of figured we were behind enough on card rewards. Hey, Mara, good to see you. Yeah, we wanted just like more consistency, even if it was slow. Is this the most abandoned seed? Very possibly. Defect owns. Creative AI stalling is absolutely not cringe at all. No, I don't know why anyone would think that. But yeah, most people picking Cold Snap when offered. Smithing the defrag, unsurprising. Sweeping Beam I think is reasonable as well. Probably plays harder in the immediate term in Act 1, especially if you're planning to farm a little bit more heavily, whether that's farming elites or even farming hallways, like advanced pool hallways in Act 1. A lot of them, and a lot of the worst ones, are AoE that can benefit from a Sweeping Beam upgrade. Right? Like the lots of slimes, Gremlin Gang, they're assholes. Equi, good card. Cool-Headed Smith early is interesting. I find the draw, like, it's obviously an amazing upgrade just in a general sense, but early on, I find that the extra draw, like if you're still on 3 energy especially, doesn't play quite as hard as it does a lot of the time in the later part of the game. But if you were one of the people who smithed Cool-Headed early on, would be curious to hear both the logic and how you feel like it played out over, maybe a more direct damage upgrade. Maybe you didn't have a more direct damage upgrade in the deck also as a possibility. Creative AI, I think a lot of people who picked this one had the urn by then, which, yeah, fair. And then just sort of, fans out from there. A lot of defect cards. Sunder, solid, yeah. Up Cool-Headed because I had nothing else to upgrade and already was cringing. Yeah, valid. Makes a lot of sense. Swapper wins because they don't see Creative AI urn on that floor. True. Only saying forget when I smith Cool-Headed, but felt like damage output was solid enough and last defect runs was starved for draw, so anticipating. And that's totally fair. If one aspect of your run is feeling relatively solved, at least for, the near term, working on areas and upgrades that are, less so makes a ton of sense. Let's take a look at the relic stats again. We did very briefly a couple of them, but Dak, best branch. Congratulations? Question mark? Because I'm pretty sure that means that did the most stalling, which is maybe not something to get super excited about. Preduin, I don't know if you're here, but I don't know what the heck you were doing that blocked 15 weak when everyone else just got 2, but congrats on that. Arcalcum kind of owns, especially with Frost. That thing can do real work. 8/8/2 Orichalcum. Yeah, when you're stalling, there's plenty of turns for it to do a thing. I think Dak was the one actually with this tab being how many turns did you spend in each fight? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that was about, man, but that was a choice. It was a choice that was made. That may have something to do with these numbers being what they are. I don't know, dude. I do not know. Did he say in the thing? First 5 floors the scariest, and just stalling with Urn Branch is suffering. So yeah, that's probably what it was. Just Urn Branch stall, and Branch being uncooperative. Happens. T-set, yeah, sure. Matryoshka, a couple people getting double relic value. Congratulations, it did more than just eventually replacing itself. Urn, yep. Ridiculous. Scales, yep. That's a very large number. Art of War as well. Good on defect, as I have been told. Ornithopter, even more sustain. Meat, even more sustain. Did you guys know that there was some amount of sustain in this seed? I'm not sure if you noticed. Tousty winning the Please Farm award with 8 extra relics. Is there anything else that's jumping out here? 48 Centennial Puzzle. Look at this pantograph. Triple wing boots, only 2 people buying it, apparently. 162 ceramic fish value. Please add cards to your deck. The abacus. No. Ah! That's not the button I meant to press. That is Control, not Shift. They are different keys on the keyboard. Please be advised. I looked at that. Events. I haven't looked at events yet. Yeah, Ranwood, pretty even split between card versus gold. Looks like everyone who gave a card gave up either Gopher or Melter relatively early on. I think those are fair. You know, they're better than Skip. People with meat value not stalling? Apparently not. Yeah, if you're healing off of meat, it means that you are ending the fight at less than half HP. Which, you know, if the run is in a strong enough place that you don't feel like you have to stall, more power to you. Or if you just have principles, you know, that's possible too. Yeah. This was a fun one. Knowing Skull, again, did you guys know that this seed has some sustain in it? And that if you have a rather large amount of sustain, you can sometimes afford to take a rather large amount of damage for gold. So one person just leaving, one person doing gold, clicking the button once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and one person taking a potion. But yeah, you can just sort of spam click this guy if you have enough sustain to cover it up. 2 hallways in a row where power is healed, you need just out of meat range. Oof, annoying. Sonsniggle did not have abuse. I'm not sure whether to say unfortunate or congratulations. Probably somewhere in between, or both. Yeah. Generally just giving max HP. I don't think there was an Omamori this seed, but Writhe isn't too bad. Madness is funny. I don't know. Potions, transform. Everybody removing on this one. I guess this would be after a P-box. Moving self-repair, yeah, fair. Oh. Let's look at speed. Byron wins fastest win again. Tony Twitch on slowest at just shy of the 4-hour mark. Yeah. Mostly the Act 2s. Act 2 sucks. We looked at damage a little bit already, but the zoom out version, pretty comfy Act 3 here, looks like, in the 250 gold pickers. Boss swappers, again, unsurprising, having a rougher time in the first couple floors, because you just have negative now bonus. You lost your starter orb, and you don't have anything that does anything yet to replace it, so unsurprising. And also unsurprising, Electro owning in the first early part of the game. Yeah. I don't know if there's much otherwise jumping out on that, but yeah, Act 2 owns. What about deck sizes? 28 to 38 card decks on this one. Feels reasonable for the robot. Most people clocking in at 19 relics, high bar of 31. Who had 31? Tousty and Preedwin. 31 relic gaming. I guess with the, whatchamacallit, the Black Star Awesome Banana, thank you for the follow. Yeah. Not too many people resting into the bosses this seed, which again, I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but did you know there was some amount of sustain on this seed? It's, yeah, you kind of don't have to rest when you can just mostly heal to full. Yeah, again, the Please Farm, most people taking 3 elites in Act 1. Although 1 and 2 elite pathers did have, looks like a proportionally higher... oh, actually, no. That's just an artifact of it is small and squished. So, yeah, Please Farm, once again, the not just the most popular, but the most successful run winningest percentage choice. Please Snooze, or rather Upgrade. Defect is the upgrade character. You know, it's a meme, but it holds some truth to it. Act 1 events kinda suck. What else is new? Nobody taking the Act 1 burner. And again, this is not all data. This is only people who have the Run History Plus mod installed that I can pull this from, if you're wondering why there's no losses on this chart. But yeah, more people taking the burner in Act 2, which is interesting considering how rough Act 2 was. But, you know, I guess if you're snowballing enough by then, why not? Free up pathing. Just do not fall prey to the curse of overconfidence. Act 2 burner had a 4 elite path, must farm 4 elites. Okay, that's fair. That makes sense. Yeah. Nothing else super jumping out at me about these ones. Once again, you guys can exclamation mark stats if you want to follow along or skim, you know, on your own. Blue keys. A bunch of people keying the Ornithopter. I'm assuming these are people who had the urn already, because normally not a relic you key, but, you know, if you already have a way to stall to full reliably, yeah, who needs yet another small amount of sustain on top? 4 elite path killed me. Unlucky. Ceramic fish. Not one I usually key in the early game. I guess floor 26 is like Act 2. Act 2. Reasonable. Matryoshka sucks. Strawberry, eh. Yeah, everyone who keyed won. Interesting. Yeah. We should click the key. Yeah. It's important learnings. If you don't click the key, you die. Just, that's not even memeing. It's just a fact if you're playing heart runs. Yeah, key owns. Yeah, this is also a plug of if you don't have it already and you are at all interested in this stuff, grab the Run History Plus mod, grab the Relic Stats mod. Those are the 2 optional ones that this sheet pulls from on a couple tabs to do more deep dive stuff like the keys and such here, or the Relic Stats that we skimmed through already. Yeah. Zeknar dropping knowledge as usual. If you don't key, you cannot win. True and factual. Victory? Question mark? Yeah. I didn't sort these this week. I normally try to bucket them by theme, but this week the theme was just like the run is silly. I don't know. I had a hard time, like, aside from the obvious, like, some people were doing shard nonsense, is a lot of these decks sort of felt relatively similar at first pass for me. But if you feel like you did something more unique with your run or something more interesting that you think would be fun to highlight, let me know. Otherwise, I will just skim through the forum submissions as usual and see if anything jumps out as kind of, definitely no misplays. No one has ever misplayed in the Orb Walkers fight. It's not even possible to do, I'm pretty sure. Swaps suck. Unlucky. Yeah, incredible sustain trying to farm, but yeah. Rough burner. IKEA owns. What's IKEA doing? I'm missing the reference. Yeah. Strong shops. Fusion hammer and coffee dripper. Good combo. But yeah, we were talking about this earlier of like when your deck just being too slow for the cultists. Yeah. Keep an eye on how quickly you are getting through fights, even if it's still currently safe and it hasn't bitten you in the ass yet. Try to look to shore it up before it bites you in the ass too hard. Yeah, cultists, Book of Stabbing. Again, classic fights that got triple cultist. Classic fights that if you are too slow, you will just get owned. Random bullshit go. Healing to full, meat healed 0. 0. Bad macro, lol, been there. Throwing runs, we've all been there. Yeah. But yeah, defect owns. Bit of a wild seed. If you won it, congratulations. If you didn't win it, better luck on your next seed of the week run. If you abandoned it like Wet and I, solidarity. Some runs just, yeah. Games are supposed to be fun. Please have fun with them. This is my plea. The real winners are the abandoners. I certainly feel like a winner. I'll do the recap on the 2 seeds next week. Yes, that's the plan. And Bathtube, we abandoned End of Act 2, which was not a one-shot decision. It was we are both kind of brain dead and not having fun with this run anymore, so let's just park here and plan to pick it back up afterwards. And then we just never picked it back up because we're like, every time we thought about doing it, it's like, I don't want to do this right now. And it's just, I don't want to do this at all. Let's just not. Like, it feels weird to abandon a seed of the week run, especially when I'm the one organizing the damn thing. But like, you know, it's a game. I don't want to play runs that just make me sad. All right, have a good night, Lilite. Thanks for hanging out. But yes, to Lilite's question earlier, the recap on the 2 seeds next week. If you were unaware, there are 2 seed of the week seeds this week. I'm doing a bonus Watcher seed alongside the usual Ironclad seed. Completely optional, both are optional as always. It's seed of the week. It's play the runs that interest you. My current thinking is that I'm going to do a bonus Watcher seed on the first Monday of every month. So the people who are interested in Watcher still have that as an outlet, but it seems like the majority of people are mostly interested in RGB. So sticking to that as the main rotation, so people who aren't interested in Watcher don't have to wait quite as long for their preferred character or characters to rotate back around. So yeah, that's a thing. If you are interested this week, give it a go. We'll see how it turns out. It's an experiment, so looking for feedback on that as well, of if it seems fun, interesting, if a lot of people end up doing it, if not that many people end up doing it. Yeah, seed of the month. I mean, they're basically already kind of seed of the month, right? It's seed of the every 3 weeks because it's RGB. So it's like not that different, but yeah, seed of the month, basically. In parallel, we will see how it goes. I'm still undecided, frankly, on if I'm going to do my Watcher take later tonight or not. Wet and I are doing the Watcher one separately. We're not doing a co-op Not Dork on Watcher, which honestly makes sense. Wet is a very strong Watcher player. Oh, fuck. Okay, the auto shout-out already happened, and it says I have to wait 40 minutes before giving him another shout-out. But let me just do it the old-fashioned way of there. If you're not already following Wet, please go do so. He is an excellent variety streamer and an excellent Spire player. When he does stream Spire, I'm not sure if he's planning to stream Watcher. Wet, if you're still in chat, let me know. Yeah, he'll be taking his best stab at it. I will be taking my best stab at some point. Whether it's later tonight if I have enough brain cells left, or later in the week, we'll see. And then, tomorrow afternoon EST, early afternoon EST, we're going to be doing co-op clad as per usual. So hopefully we'll see you guys around for one or both of those. In the meantime, I think we can probably wrap up here unless anyone has final closing thoughts. I'm going to check the Spire category, see who's on. Alright. Looks like Necro Rebel is the man of the hour. Yeah. Let's go say hi to Necro Rebel. that going in the side
They
tab.
say.
Not the button. God damn, that's the button. Sorry, what was this? Histogram on what day of the week people submit their runs. I don't, but I could certainly put that together. It would be very biased towards the start of the week. I think a lot of people try to do their runs early so that they can watch other people's streams without spoilers, but then like a lot of folks just end up front loading it really fast, and then it kind of drip drip tapers off later on. But yeah, for whatever that's worth. All right, thanks for hanging out again, guys. I will hopefully see you guys back again soon. Good luck on your Sea of the Week runs this week, should you choose to do them, if you haven't already. And yeah, take care. All the best. Bye.